Ideally, when you make fettuccine Alfredo, you have the sauce and the pasta done at the same time. So I've actually got the pasta boiling on the stove over there, and I'm timing it so that both the sauce and the pasta will be done at the same time. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our hot pan, make sure it's hot. You're hot, good. We're gonna melt our butter in a hot pan, and this is over really low heat, and I can't stress this enough. Like, it needs to be low heat. Like, you can crank it up a little bit if you want to melt the butter, but we're gonna be cooking cheese and cream, and both of them, surprisingly, are emulsions. So if you were to overheat cream or overheat cheese, either heat them too hot or heat them too fast, they will break. And once they break, once that emulsion is broken and you end up with like liquid and solids, like curds and whey, essentially, there's no way to get them back together, and you have to dump everything and start over. So I'm gonna melt this butter. We'll be back in 1 second. Okay, we've got our melted butter. We're gonna add our cream, our cheese, and our salt and pepper. But I wanna point out something first. So this cheese here this is Parmesan and Pecorino. Both of these cheeses are ground really fine. So they're just really small pieces of cheese. Like if you have long, thin shreds of cheese, they'll take a long time to melt. There might actually not be enough heat to melt them completely. You might end up with like little nubbins of cheese in your dish. And it'll still be delicious, it just won't have a really creamy texture. Second of all, you need to make sure that these cheeses are at room temperature, because you're gonna be fighting against the clock here as you melt them really quickly in time for your pasta to cook and in time for the heat to carry over and melt the cheese without actually breaking it. So if you start with cold cheese, you're gonna be setting yourself up for failure. So pull your cheese out ahead of time, let it sit out for at least a half an hour before you get started. So we're gonna add our cream. And we're gonna add our cheeses. And this is very low heat. Like literally my cooktop is at like a 2 or a 3. Like you want it to go relatively low while still generating heat, because if you overcook this or overheat this, the cream and the cheese will break. So we're gonna take our whisk and we're gonna whisk this together. And as they heat together, they should form a creamy sauce. Might actually take a few minutes. The goal when doing this is to make sure you keep moving. Like you can't like whisk a little bit and walk away. You need to keep going the whole time, right? Because the whole means of like bringing an emulsion together, which is essentially what we're doing right now, is to keep it moving, right? Like you're literally realigning like atoms here and making sure that molecules connect and coat each other perfectly. And that will only happen if you keep it moving. All right, this is looking pretty good. We want to scrape the sides of the bowl. We still got some little nubbins of melted cheese on the bottom that I can see. So we're going to keep whisking until those little bits of cheese on the bottom are melted. You can kind of see them right here. Like if I move the whisk really fast, you can see them down at the bottom. On the bottom of the pot, you can see there's like little bits of cheese. So we want those to be gone. So that's why we've still got it over low heat, 2 or 3, and we're going to keep this moving. Because we've got this over a relatively low heat, this is gonna take a little while. Low and slow is the name of the game here, right? We want it to take a while. If this was to happen quickly, that would mean that we're heating up the cheese too quickly and it would break. So you're gonna be whisking for a few minutes. Like there's really not much more to it besides whisking, but we're gonna keep at it. Okay, we've got our creamy sauce, it's looking good. We've got our hot noodles, which we're going to add. And we're going to gently, with these tongs, coat the noodles with the sauce. And it's gonna cook the sauce a little bit more and melt the last of that cheese so that we have a beautiful creamy texture. It's also gonna cook the noodles just a little bit more. Actually cook these noodles just to right before al dente. And so they've got like half a second more of cooking to do. We're gently turning them in this hot pan with these hot noodles and this hot sauce, being very careful not to smash the noodles, because then, I mean, what's the point? Nobody wants to eat smushed up noodles, right? And this is looking great. Look at that creamy sauce. Isn't that beautiful? Now again, the heat is like basically at 1 right now. It's not even like heating. It's like at warm, because like this sauce can still break. Like this sauce is an emulsion. It's all cream and cheese and butter. And if at any given point, like you overheat it or you heat it too fast, it's gonna separate, it's gonna split, and you've got a mess. And it is done, and it looks gorgeous. So we're gonna plate this up. gonna put this guy here, make some room in our workspace. I'm gonna give it a taste to see if it needs any seasoning. Oh, I don't think it does. Come here, you. Whoop, come on. Woohoo, come on. It's kind of a sticky sauce. Let's go for it. That's really good. So it's a really salty cheese, so you may not need to add any more salt or cheese or salt to it. And this actually doesn't need any more salt. It's perfect the way it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create our nests. And we do this with a large fork, and we just kind of twist. And we bring it up like that. And we get a big twist of pasta on the fork, and then we take our little spoon and we twist like this so we get one solid mass. And then we slide it off into our bowl. Doesn't that look nice? And we keep doing that until we have filled the whole bowl. Ta-da. Whoop. Fettuccine isn't quite as cooperative as like spaghetti because it's wide. So if you notice it's struggling a little bit as you try to twist it around, that's why, but it's totally fine. It'll be fine. Twist that up. We're gonna do 3 little nests, and then we're going to taste it. Doesn't that look nice? Generally when you're making pasta nests, you wanna do like odd numbers, so like 3 looks good, 5 looks good. That looks really great. So I'm gonna grab a fork. Give me 1 second. I've got my fork. Let's give it a try. Oop, I just want one little bite. That is really good. It's super creamy. It's a little cheesy. Oh, it's like comfort in a bowl. It feels like the pasta equivalent of like a warm Italian hug. It's so good.